Welcome to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. How many of us are stressed and overwhelmed because we're disorganized? And what can we do to simplify our lives and breathe much easier? Today, I'm joined by Kathi Burns. She's a certified professional organizer at Organized and Energized. And Kathi will tell us how to move from overwhelmed and disorganized to systems and strategies that generate income. Kathi, welcome to Empowered.
Oh, thank you for having me, Elizabeth. I've been excited to be on the show.
I'm excited to have you on as well because, a lot of people when they're disorganized, they put things on hold or, I'll deal with it another time. Where should I begin when I'm getting organized?
The first place to begin is to determine what you want to accomplish with the project. And I like to forward think. So, in other words, if you're going to say, okay, I'm going to get my garage organized, I'd like to say, why? And what do you intend to do with that space? Same thing with your wardrobe and your closet, perhaps, right? Where do I want to be in 1 year from now? After this project ends, what's the end result? So a lot of people will just start clearing, decluttering, not really having a strategy, not really knowing what their end result will be. And then they don't know if they're done or it's not sustainable, which is the most important thing. As a board certified professional organizer, my goal is to create systems that stick. In other words, I want my clients to have systems that are sustainable, that they can upkeep, that are easy to remember how to do. And it all begins with knowing what your end result, what the goal is.
Okay, so how do I get started to know what my goal is and how to get to a very good organized place?
Ooh, that's a big question. How to know where to begin? That's a twofold question, Elizabeth. But you know, how to know where to begin is really what's bothering you the most. Like what area just irks you or stops you from doing what you want to do. Maybe you can't get out the door because you can't find the right clothes to wear every single morning because your closet's throwing up and you can't even get in there, right? That'd be a great place to start. So you start with the area that bothers you the most and you start small. I always say, start with something as easy as your sock drawer because usually you're not invested in your socks. There's no emotional challenge to it, right? There's no charge. And so you can easily go in and organize your sock drawer for various reasons. Number one, it's a small contained amount of space. It does have a container already. Usually it's a drawer, and that helps you decide. So you make an agreement with yourself. Okay, this is how many I'm going to have, and this is the space of which I'm going to hold it. So again, you have the goal in mind. I'm going to get all my socks to fit in this drawer. I'm tired of them being scattered and not fitting and the drawer not closing. So your end goal is to have a container of that all match. You get rid of the loosies, you get rid of the stragglers, you get the ones with the holes, you match them up, and that allows you to then have a sense of accomplishment. So I tell everybody, start small. Don't start with your junk drawer. That's horrendous. Start with something that you can do and finish, and that way you will have a sense of accomplishment and it will build from there. It's your letting go muscles. I say a lot of our people's our letting go muscles are atrophied, right? And we don't want to don't let it go. Then after you release, you get empowered and you're able to do more.
I like that. So my next question too is, so many people put things aside because it's overwhelming and they'll say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it another time. How can someone avoid becoming overwhelmed?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Again, it's starting small. That's an important thing is don't do some huge project that you're not used to getting organized around. I had a client just yesterday tell me, I find that I tend to put things off and I go into overwhelm when I don't know how to do it. So I always say, figure out how you're going to do it, figure out your plan of attack in advance, and then get to it. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, it might be because you don't really know how to do what you want to do. You don't know how to organize your socks. You don't know how to separate them, so on and so forth. Or you just have too much emotional baggage around it. So
Hold that thought,
actually,
Kathi. Hold that thought, because when we come back, we're going to talk about how we can simplify our life even more. So please don't go away. We'll be right back with more Kathi Burns. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's episode, we'll learn how to move from overwhelmed and disorganized to systems and strategies that generate income. Now, Kathi, before we went to break, we were talking about becoming overwhelmed. You can please continue.
Yes, one of my clients was just telling me yesterday that she shuts down and she goes into overwhelm when she doesn't quite know how to do things. And so I was showing her methods that, the first thing you want to do when you start to get organized is you want to gather everything together. So step one, gather all like items together. After that, then you can sort through and categorize, and you'll see that maybe you have duplicates or triplicates or even quadruplicates, and then you can get rid of, right? Delete and edit out all the things that you don't need that are duplicates, triplicates. After that, then you can organize them into a system, and only then can you figure out how to containerize them. Like, where are they going to live? How much space are they going to take? What kind of container will it be? Then you can decide where it's going to be located, and then you can label it. So she didn't have a lot of those basics in her mind of what to do when she was starting, and that was actually talking about dealing with her email in her inbox. She was overwhelmed. I had no idea how to actually deal with that. So those are the basic organizing 101 principles that you can use on any project. You gather, you group, you sort, so on and so forth.
So, it is overwhelming because, people will see, as you mentioned, you talked about a garage, you talked about a drawer, and people just sit there and think, I just want to simplify my life. How can I simplify my life?
You want to get rid of any duplicates, triplicates, and quadruplicates because you only need one generally of anything, unless it's chopsticks. Then you only need one pair of chopsticks per hand. Right. So I think what happens, we're in such a consumerism society that we tend to bring things into our life without thought. So the idea is to have only what you need, no excess. We get overwhelmed and stifled, and actually excess stuff takes our energy. It just zaps our energy. It's what I call muck. In my first book, How to Master Your Muck, it's like muck is anything that makes you stuck or unable to move forward. And duplicates, triplicates, that's muck. Who needs all that, right? So you have to kind of get real with yourself and decide how much is enough for me. And everybody has a different attitude around how much is enough or how much is too much. You have to decide that on yourself before you start the downsizing process and elimination process. Only then can you then be really clear and get rid of that overwhelm, which is muck as a result of that overwhelm.
So, it's interesting because you said get rid of duplicates, triplicates, whatever. But how do you decide what to eliminate from your life? There's so many, I have friends whose parents have passed and they have this incredible crystal sitting in boxes because they don't want to use it. They're afraid of breaking it. They don't want to use it because, I don't know, they're afraid. How do you decide what to keep and what to eliminate? Because so many people are putting so many boxes in storage right now, and it's costing them a fortune.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my best girlfriends is my nemesis. She owns storage units. And she's always trying to talk people out of stuff in storage units because we don't know what's in there. So what you want to ask yourself is, do I need it? Do I love it? Do I use it? Okay, so a lot of things we get handed down. I'm working with another client right now. She has 3 generations of stuff that's been brought to her because she's the girl in the family. So she has 3 generations of stuff. And so the question that I'm always asking her, well, do you need it? Well, no, but my mother, do you love it? No, my mother used it for years. Do you want it? Do you use it? And if you don't need it, love it, or use it, it shouldn't be in your life. It shouldn't be in storage. If you think about, you don't really you're doing it a disservice. So mother's crystal that she loved, you're just shoving it in a garage. That's doing it a disservice. My idea is pass your good on to the world And then whatever you need will come back to you, because that's how life works, right? So let it go. Another thing is past, present, or future. Okay. I might need it someday. You're talking future tense. I love it right now. Or I used to like that. That used to be good, right? So you have to think about what tense you're speaking in as well when you're looking at that particular item.
Okay, so when we come back, we're going to talk about what steps are needed to finish getting organized. And Kathi will help you get organized. So please don't go away. We'll be right back with more tips. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's episode, we're learning how to move from overwhelmed and disorganized to systems and strategies that'll generate income. You know, Kathi, we were talking about having things passed down to you. And it's really interesting. During COVID lockdown, I made sure that we had dinner at the dining room table. And my husband's mom passed away 28 years ago. And there was this incredible white linen tablecloth with a whole bunch of holes. But, I folded it over. I wanted to use it because it was like, I think it's 100 years old or something. And I kept saying, if this tablecloth could talk, like all the incredible conversations that were said around this tablecloth, like to me, I like to use stuff that I have. I don't like to just ship things in boxes because I think, as you said earlier, you're doing it a disservice. People have lived and used those items, and you should live and use those items just as they were meant to be. That's why they were given to you and passed down. So I want to talk about, I know we did talk about steps, but I want to continue on steps that are needed to finish getting organized because I'm a firm believer of using what you have.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have to put a caveat in that though, Elizabeth. If it was passed down to you and you really don't like it, you can let it go. I give all of you permission.
Agreed.
You actually really love using the linen because you thought of the stories behind it. I have another client that she was passed down so many things from two great aunts, another aunt and her mother. And what she decided to do, she wanted to keep it. She had a beautiful tea party using all the 3-tier platters and all the stuff that she had been passed down to. And she got great joy out of it. Now, in the inverse, I have another client who has all this silver and she's just weighed down by it. And she talks about it and you could tell that she's just dragged down by having to hold on to it and keep it because she feels like she's obligated to. So my idea is you're never obligated to keep anything. If you love it, use it and need it, keep it. You enjoy using that white linen tablecloth. Another one of my clients would have hated that and said, I don't even want that thing. It's gnarly, right? So it's all about individual, discerning how you feel about it. And going back into the steps so that you'll catch on to this, okay? What you want to do when you decide to organize anything is you want to do it by category. Like think of, okay, I'm going to do my shirts, I'm going to do my shoes, I'm going to do my tools, whatever it is, right? So what you want to do to start out with, you want to gather all like items together that are within that particular genre. Once they're gathered, then you're able to group them into segments of like with like, okay? Then, only then can you decide what you don't need. You'll see the duplicates and triplicates. You'll see the broken things that you didn't use anyhow. So once they're all gathered together, then you can actually begin to sort and purge and get rid of what you don't need to get, what you no longer need, right? And pass it on, give it to charity. After that, then you can figure out how you're going to store them and what container you use. A lot of my clients will go out before I even get there to help them organize, and they buy all their boxes and bins and all that stuff. And that's really putting the cart before the horse because I'm like, don't buy that. We don't even know what we're trying to store here, let alone the quantity and the size of what we want to store. So after that, then you have permission to go out and buy whatever bin or whatever thing you need to do to store it in. After that, then you can decide where it's going to live, what makes the most sense of where it should live, and how much space it's going to take up in your life. Then you can label it and move forward. So those are the basic steps, organizing 101, right?
So, is it the same for your workspace? I mean, we've been talking about your home. What about your workspace?
Oh, yes. In fact, I work with entrepreneurs that are overwhelmed, stressed out, and overburdened to create simplified systems so they can make more money, which at the top of the show, that's what we were talking about. Like, how do you make more money? You make more money by eliminating the distractions in your life and eliminating the distractions in your business, your workspace, your desk, your computer, right? All these things in your hard drive. What hard drive am I using here? Paper piles. Every pile in your life represents a decision that's not been made. And particularly as women, as us, piles will silently scream at us of things left undone, right? So it's like, I'm not done. The fact that you piled it means you didn't make a decision. So a pile comes by either you're procrastinating, you're avoiding it, or you just simply indecisive. You have no idea what to do with it. So yes, get rid of any piles that are laying around in your workspace, and that will help you make more money.
Those are great words of wisdom. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. On today's episode, we'll learn how to move from overwhelmed and disorganized to systems and strategies that generate income. I'm joined by Kathi Burns. She's a certified professional organizer at Organized and Energized. Kathi, let's keep continuing. Let's talk about those piles because I am guilty of that. I have piles, I pile stuff. And then when the pile starts getting overwhelming, that's when I deal with it. And I know that if it's something that I have to deal with, in the future, it gets piled up. So what do you do? What do you say to people, in order to tell them not to start their piles? What can I do beforehand rather than dealing with it right away? Because the piles can be overwhelming.
Piles are overwhelming, and piles are distractions. Piles are what will keep you not focused. So say you're on the phone and you're looking, you're really in depth with the client, working with them, and then you look over and you see this project pile that you don't even know what project it is, or you think you might know, and you start thinking that, and then you're no longer present with the person. And so you're not really serving your client. So, that's just a business thing. But the thing about piles, as I said, any pile in your life is one of three things. Either you have no idea what to do with it, okay, because you have this thing, you're going to do it in the future, Elizabeth, but you don't know where to put it. Okay, so
Mhm.
there's a pile. Or you're procrastinating, you know what to do with it. It needs to be in that file drawer over there, but you just don't want to have time to do, you're just not doing it. Or you're avoiding it completely. I can't tell you how many closets I open that have bags and bags of paper piles. They've just avoided the whole entire thing and thrown it in the closet and shut the door. So if you have a pile of any sort, it's one of those three reasons. Now, the thing about piles, they're magical. They're little magical mystery beasts. They will grow on their own when you're not even there. So you really have to watch out for anything that's piled. If you've ever worked with a professional organizer or heard us speak, we're always like, go vertical. Do not pile anything. Have everything vertically in your life, and then you can find things, right? And it's no longer a nondescript thing that you don't know what it is. I was
Right.
on TV with
That's
a
great.
television producer, had that little horizontal piling device, little horizontal inbox. He's like, "What's in here?" I'm like, "I don't know. You tell me, Ro." He's, I don't know. One of my clients used to pile by attrition, and his executives actually called me in to help him as an intervention because he was filing but piling. So he had a U-shaped desk, and he had piles that were like 2 feet high all the way around him. And his idea of filing and getting rid of piles was he would just yank the ones on the bottom up and throw them in the can without looking at them, and then his pile would decrease. So that doesn't work either. Filing,
No.
he called it filing by attrition. I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
Okay, so
So
I have heard you talk about stopping chasing squirrels. What does that mean?
squirrel? Yeah, right. So I'm an ex squirrel chaser. I a little all I'm ADD, self-admittedly, I will chase squirrels. So squirrels are anything that make you distracted. And the thing about squirrels is they're wily little things. You will end up off on some branch somewhere else and not even know that you jumped ship. Email is a perfect example of that, or having duplicated systems. Maybe you start this one contact management database, you start another one, there went a squirrel, and then you have two and they're competing in the background of your life and you don't know what's up. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but squirrels lose 40% of the nuts that they bury. Now, sadly, as
Oh,
an
I didn't know that.
entrepreneur, yeah, as entrepreneurs, though, only 20% of what we do is effective. So squirrels actually have one up on us. So we really need to focus on not chasing squirrels, not creating duplicated systems, not jumping off onto some branch when we're trying to laser focus into what we're focusing on, right?
And we have
Yeah.
about 10 seconds left. You've got something for our viewers. So what is it?
For those of you who are feeling overwhelmed and you just don't know where to begin or what to do, call on me. I'm offering everyone here a free chaos to clarity session valued at $300. Go to chatwithkathi.com, Kathi, chatwithkathi.com. I'm more than happy to help you get clarity on what you can do first, second, third to get started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kathi.
Thank you.
We all need a little help from time to time after watching today's show. I hope you picked up a tip or two because we all do need a little help from our friends. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski, and I'm here to empower you and make frugality fashionable. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.